And we are live.
Yes, we are.
Welcome back to the Pluralist Method.
Yep.
We've been away for another week, but no
That's
worries. We're back in it again to finish up our part 2 of our discussion we had 2 weeks ago on ethical standards throughout all the branches of the U.S. government. And before we get into it, we also are going to talk briefly about the recent news that has come out breaking within the past couple weeks of the impeachment inquiry and kind of what led to that, the sequence of events that led to that.
And please note that even now, while we're recording, the news is going by pretty quick, so there might be something that's
ever evolving,
happening right now that
it'll probably be totally different by next week, by the end of next week.
But,
so
it's significant.
We'll just briefly touch on that, and it kind of plays into some of
the ethical topics we're going to be talking about. So it'll transition.
It's related, and it's a pretty hot news topic that I think it needs to be discussed.
Yeah,
it's something that
doesn't
come up all that often within
US the
politics.
Lifetime of the American government.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you want to start
even a
with
lifetime of an individual?
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be even less. All right. Yeah, sure. Of course. Like and subscribe if you have not already.
Yeah, that's important.
Follow us on Twitter if you can. Everybody knows all that nonsense, so let's just get into it.
All right, fair enough. Let's do it.
Yeah, so I just wanted to start out, I guess, and we'll go over the impeachment inquiry. I guess the sequence of events that led up to the impeachment inquiry.
So let's start from the beginning. In 2016, there was an election. And
wow. I need to go through that. It'll take the entire amount of time.
Not that beginning.
Tell the story of 2016 till today.
No, but in all seriousness, a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago now?
As far as when it actually came out?
The call. As the transcript came out.
Oh, the transcript. Yeah, that was back
transcript. It
late
wasn't actually
September.
A transcript.
Yeah, it was a lot redacted.
Yes, and not a lot of it was word for word. It was there was a little disclaimer saying that this should not be used as a transcript underneath each of the pages that were released.
I was just reading through it, and it's like I don't want to just bash on Trump for the sake of bashing on Trump, but even in the transcript, it's pretty difficult to read just through the way he speaks, or at least it's transcribed in the transcript.
I actually, so the transcript itself, it revealed a bit of information. And that the primary bit of information was, it seemed that, actually, it's pretty blatant. President Trump asked the leader of another country, Ukraine, to investigate one of his political opponents and his son. This is in reference to Joe Biden and Hunter Biden.
Hunter Biden, yes.
So that right there, you can already kind of unpack some of the ethical issues that are there. But there's even more. So there are some other issues as well. There was reference to President Zelensky, the president of the Ukraine, or of Ukraine, not the Ukraine. The president of Ukraine seemed to be licking some asshole when he said he was staying in one of Trump's suites,
hotel,
hotels.
Trump Tower.
Yes.
Yep.
So that's another issue.
Throughout the entire transcript that was released, there's a lot of ass kissing going on.
Yes, absolutely. But that is another issue that should be looked at. That isn't really a huge part of the current investigation, but it is a part of some other investigations, I believe, or at least should be, if it's not already. So there are some ethical implications as far as the use of a foreign power's use of a private company's amenities to ingratiate themselves with a public official.
Sure.
And that's pretty important to go over. Additionally, we see there's potential for what people are calling quid pro quo in a certain aspect. I personally did not think that one could read that with an absolute standard of unambiguity, because it just seemed a little bit rough. But that brings us to a couple of other things that came up. You want to go? You want to touch on what you thought of the transcript?
I mean, from what you've said, that's pretty much what I got from it. I mean, we had discussed this outside of the live stream, and
as with most,
like you said, I mean, you made it. Of course, for me, I looked at it and I got the obvious as what most people did out of it, where it's kind of as I said, like a treasonous sort of behavior, looking for political, I say help. I guess that's you're looking for some sort of political assistance in a campaign or whatever through a foreign government, foreign power, foreign leader, and that was what I got from it. And you had kind of brought up how they could sort of spin that in actually proceedings involving an impeachment, where it's not as clear cut to be something to impeach for as, or at least the argument could be made, as you were saying.
It absolutely could.
It's not quite as clear as it seems.
Yes.
That's what I got from it. But you had mentioned something else as well.
Yes.
And I wanted to go into that.
Okay. So having during the transcript or during the call, President Trump multiple times made reference to both Rudy Giuliani and William Barr as individuals he would like to have President Zelensky in contact with regarding the investigation of his political opponent. Now, if you are...
And of course, Rudy Giuliani, is his personal attorney.
Yes, it's his personal
And William Barr is the attorney general. Yes.
Yeah.
So I just want to make that clear. He isn't
yeah. Oh, yeah, people. Yeah. So there are two ways to look at President Trump's request. If you read the transcript and you truly do not believe that that there is anything wrong here, he's just asking for someone to he's asking another president of another head of another country just to look into corrupt practices by an individual that resides in his government. If that's a true and honest request, then you have a couple issues. You have the problem that you have your personal attorney looking into foreign affairs and actually acting as a diplomat. And the reason that is an ethically poor decision is it is literally creating a conflict of interest with Rudy Giuliani, because it's his personal lawyer. Giuliani actually has a financial responsibility to President Trump to look out for his interests. But if he's going as to another country as a diplomat, he has to look out for the interests of the country. Of
the country itself, yeah.
So it literally, it's good for issues where the public interest and Trump's interests align, but again, this is not one of those situations. Trump's interests are multiplied, whereas the public interest would only be in the law. Trump has a political interest in those particular individuals, which creates that conflict of interest. Now, I personally do not read the transcript that way. I don't think that any rational person would. But I did want to make that argument because I think both sides should be looked at, just in all fairness. The other problem is actually much worse. If you do think that Trump, even a little bit, tried to get the head of another country to look into one of his political opponents, then the major issue is he asked, or he stated that he would have the Attorney General contact President Zelensky. The problem with that is it's literally a case of government waste and government corruption. A public official should not be utilizing taxpayers' dollars to advance the political motivations of a politically elected
of Trump
official of Trump.
Yeah.
And I find that absolutely kind of disgusting, especially regarding the fact that his whole campaign ran on draining the swamp and getting
that
rid
was
of
even mentioned in
corruption.
the transcript of the president of Ukraine wanting to do the same sort of thing.
Yeah,
I found it interesting, unrelated, but in the beginning, how he mentioned a lot of Trump's tactics used in his own campaign. How he sort of played that.
He did.
He enjoyed how his approach, and he wanted to take a lot of this. Probably some more of the ass kissing going on, but I just found that interesting.
It was rough. The entire transcript was very, I don't want to say cringy. I'd say maybe a little like a mix of cringy and disgusting.
Yeah.
Is there a word for that? I don't think there is. But yeah, those are my feelings, and that's what I really thought about the transcript and the additional ethical implications and legal ones as it relates to the use of attorneys for or attorneys general for
furthering your
political career. Yeah. So there's that. So people should definitely be looking into that. I think that specifically is already grounds for, if not President Trump's removal from office, it is grounds for William Barr's removal from office. That is absolutely unacceptable. Now, there is an argument that some people may make that, nothing ever came of it. He never went through with it. But still,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the intent was there.
Yeah, intention to do it. It doesn't matter if it wasn't successful.
Yeah, so there's that.
Attempting murder is still a crime.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way of putting it. So those are my issues with it. Of course, I don't want to get too sidetracked on this, but I did want to ask you, what do you think about the possibility of Joe Biden actually having some sort of scandal with his name? Do you think there's anything there?
Well, I'm guessing from what I obviously I don't know too much into this, but from what I read in the transcript, involving his son, I guess with a Ukraine oil company, yeah, and
Burisma.
From that, I guess he would hope to use that against Biden. I don't know if that'd be directly related to Biden. Obviously, it would be good political fodder in a campaign, but
it is good political fodder.
Do you think you could actually tie directly back to?
So here is one of the other allegations, and it's quite controversial, and there are some other things surrounding this, so we can get into that a little bit. There's an accusation that Joe Biden used his political leverage to get the investigator or the attorney investigating the oil company fired. And if that's true, that's pretty freaking awful. The problem is, or the actual accusation first, is that the utilization of his political leverage to get his son out of hot water.
Actually, no, I totally remember that now. I completely slipped my mind, but I remember reading that within. That was kind of the thing he was going after. So yeah, I would agree with it there.
That would be absolutely corrupt. The issues that come up though are the individual that Biden got fired, from what I know, was possibly pretty darn corrupt. From what I understand actually happened,
has it been proven without a doubt that that Biden did get this individual fired?
No, it has not been proven.
Well, I guess that's why they're trying to look into it to see if
they're looking into that. And actually, a lot of the timing around everything kind of seems suspicious. I personally have not seen the firsthand sources. I've only listened or read to news media or articles relating to this circumstance. So basically, all of this is hearsay.
Yeah, I mean, full disclosure, I don't know anything about that as far as diving deep into the that side of things.
From what I understand, first off, the timing could be off. It's very possible that the issues concerning that prosecutor were up in the air regarding Biden, as well as officials in the European Union, long before Hunter Biden was directly involved. So there are some timing issues. Secondly, the fact that other officials, other governments, also believe that this particular prosecutor was corrupt lends more credibility to
being like a justifiable reason for him to be fired,
to
aside
actually
from
having
actually Biden interfering in that.
Mm-hmm.
It could have just been, I don't want to say strange coincidence, but the two just happened to come together, and from there maybe you can pull something out of it.
Yeah. So on top of that, there is also some evidence that this prosecutor was holding up investigations and trying to extort money from corporations. So that's how he or she, I don't know who this person was, got paid, basically. They would drop the case if they got a little money. So it's likely that that could have happened as well. And that's all I know.
And of course, if it was the case that Biden had interfered in getting this person fired, it still doesn't, I guess.
You cannot prove his motivations in regards to whether it was for his son or whether it was.
Well, sure, I'm saying this doesn't absolve Trump from any wrongdoing either.
Oh, there's that as well.
So I mean, both are worthy, I guess, of being looked into.
Oh, absolutely.
But that seems to be kind of a narrative that gets spun a lot of times. Trump particularly likes to do it, where they'll twist it around to say, oh, because perhaps there was, Biden was involved somehow, that makes Trump the kind of absolved of any sort of of any sort of wrongdoing there, because his intentions were pure. And it's like that doesn't matter in this case.
And additionally, it's also irrelevant due to the fact that we have other documents that have come forth that kind of point directly to the fact that the reason that Trump wants to investigate Biden is explicitly
they weren't pure intentions.
Yes, they weren't pure intentions, and I guess we can get to that. But yeah, so after the transcript, the next document to be released was the whistleblower complaint, and currently there is a lot of pundits, political pundits, who are up in arms about the fact that they don't know who the whistleblower is. And I would like to say to those individuals that this is exactly how the whistleblower system is supposed to fucking work. You're not supposed to know, because if the person is supposed to have his or her position protected from any political retaliation from higher ups, as well as the fact that this person is remaining kind of in the shadows kind of gives credence to the fact that this isn't a political stunt.
Sure, yeah.
It's not an attempt to get in the limelight.
Yeah, there's so many ways you could spin it if this person came out that it was for their own sort of fame, or of course there'd be a lot of people attacking them. You'd have a whole group that would be going after them from one side, and then they'd be constantly, hounded from another end. There's so many reasons why a person wouldn't want to come out, and you want that protection on a whistleblower.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have seen what's happened before to individuals that came out. I mean,
exactly. Well,
Edward
their careers are destroyed.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's pretty bad.
Reasoning for it. It's kind of like witness protection in a way.
Oh, absolutely. So regarding his or her anonymity, I am absolutely fine with that. I actually encourage it. I think that I would hope that more things come out like this because it definitely dampens it dampens political attacks on the individual that I kind of find just ugly.
What do you mean as far as?
Well, like you said, if they have knowledge, if knowledge of the individual came out, like the person's name, people would go on incessant smear campaigns.
Yeah.
So the reduction, the fact that he or she is anonymous reduces that likelihood, even though there are still attempts.
Sure.
Read Trump's.
And you'd hope that it would incentivize other whistleblowers to come forward if they had something they needed to blow the lid on.
Yes.
Because they have the comfort and peace of mind to know that they're not going to be completely ruined or their life isn't going to be totally blown up into
something,
the media spin or whatever.
So within the whistleblower complaint, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I'll go right into it. I haven't looked too much into this.
So the whistleblower complaint actually lists quite a few things regarding communications with foreign countries with the intent to look into political rivals. So there is a valid argument against this, which is now kind of a moot point. When it first came out, officials, Republican officials, were specifically up in arms, stating that the complaint was mainly hearsay, and that is true. The complaint was created from stories and information gotten from other sources within the White House.
Okay.
So the whistleblower themselves, for most of this, did not personally see these things happen, which it's there. That could be an issue.
Sure.
Or would be an issue if the transcript didn't come out, first of all. And secondly, if the text messages, which we'll get into, didn't come out as well. So the fact that the argument that it's hearsay, you don't know if it's true or not, is now debunked.
Yeah, you already have the proof there right there.
Exactly. So it listed out a few things. It was mostly pretty general. Basically, President Trump and officials within the White House were contacting other governments to investigate political opponents, and they stipulated the rules that were broken and the concerns they had, and this individual gave it to their higher-ups, and it got to the Inspector General, and the Inspector General said it was of urgent concern, which actually has a statutory translation, which means there's shit in this whistleblower complaint that deals with like federal officials breaking the law.
That's
like
official.
It's got yeah.
There's shit in this.
There's shit in this that that's pretty rough.
It's like there's a big stamp on top that says "Holy shit."
Exactly. So it's credible. So that document being released to the public was quite important. Now we get into the text messages, which are my favorite fucking thing. I like with the text messages, it is likely with the text messages, right now, if I was in Congress, I would vote yes on impeachment. The text messages are absolutely horrible. It's rough. So the Republican candidates or the Republican officials in Congress were rallying behind an argument, basically saying that there was no quid pro quo within the transcript, which is true. President Trump did not explicitly trade or state that he would release any military aid or any
it's all implied.
Yes, or anything, or any other favors.
It's not explicitly
in
stated,
exchange,
just implied.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he did not explicitly say that in exchange for the investigation of his political opponent. But you absolutely find quid pro quo in the text messages. In the text messages, these are text messages where diplomats are communicating with each other regarding the July 25th phone call. And I remember a text
leading up to and after the
and
phone
after
call.
Yes, I remember a text explicitly stating that the investigation would yield a trip to the White House for President Zelensky, which explicitly is quid pro quo. If you can find that text,
do you remember this would have been prior
to the call? It was a pretty freaking big deal, and I'd like to read the quote.
I can't find this.
Ruh-roh. It's absolutely there.
Do you remember the?
It would have been within the same couple of conversations as I remember the pretext of it. It was something the pretext. Hold on, I will find it. And
you can just throw that to me. I can bring it up here. We can even bring it up on the stream. If you can just throw that to me, forward it to my email.
Oh yeah,
and I can throw it up on the screen.
Text message: Ukraine, White House, rip. All right, so text messages, text exchanged. All right, it's got the brief in the morning, help the investigation. All right, Gordon, yesterday session, seriously. Washington, absolutely, we need to get the conversations of the pretext. Oh, so it's pretty close here. All right, replacement bulletin. Oh, here we go. From Kurt Volker. Good lunch, thanks. Heard from White House. Assuming President Z convinces Trump he will investigate / get to the bottom of what happened in 2016.
Yeah, the date time on that?
Yes. It is 7/25/19. We will nail down date for visit to Washington.
Yep.
Good luck. See you tomorrow.
Bam.
Kurt. That right there is absolutely insane. Get to show some people what we're talking about there.
Up on the screen.
Yeah, it's pretty damn bad.
And so if we look over here, that'll be it's the 7/25/19 at 8:36 a.m. Of course, as Dylan just mentioned, good lunch, thanks. Heard from White House. Assuming President Z convinces Trump he will investigate, get to the bottom of what happened, being the Biden
being the
investigation.
Investigation.
In 2016,
thing.
we will nail down a date for the visit to the Washington. Good luck. See you tomorrow, Kurt.
It's
Kurt Volker. Who's Kurt Volker?
he
just an
is
ambassador?
the ambassador to the Ukraine.
Great. Okay.
So pretty, yeah. Well, former ambassador to the Ukraine. He has stepped down.
Oops.
Whoopsie.
Before or after?
Like a week ago.
He saw those messages come out. He saw the receipts come out, and he's like,
yeah, it was bad.
"All right, I'm out."
Oh man, there's so much in here that I want to find the there's a text regarding,
And of course, if anybody wants to read through them, I pulled them from. I mean, you could pretty much search them up.
CNN
I pulled them
and
from.
Fox both
yeah,
have
this is
the exact
CBS News
text.
had them right up there, and you can also find the transcript. It's very easy. You can just search it up online. And most major media sites are going to have a link to a PDF file of the transcript and the text message transcript.
But yeah, just that text right there actually shows quid pro quo. So a lot of Republicans that were
The texts aren't official, so it doesn't.
yeah, they're actually yes, they are. They are word for word transcripts, which is pretty
By
fucking bad.
President Z, he meant.
No, it's rough. But it also shows that there are individuals, including Rudy Giuliani, and other ambassadors, who are planning this call and planning quid pro quo for political investigations.
Shows the entire lead up and results from.
Yeah, it's really bad.
I believe they even mentioned how they discussed how Ukraine didn't want to be used as just some sort of means for a political goal by
actually,
the U.S.
within that, that was
within those messages.
Oh man, where is that one? It was.
It was something along the lines of Ukraine doesn't want to be used as a tool in American politics.
Yeah, it was. It was so good. Ah man. I agree with your approval.
Anyways.
Yep.
Yeah, be sure to check them out. It's a great read.
Oh yes.
Great bedtime story for the kids.
Now within some of the last text messages, there comes up the question of the White House holding military aid to Ukraine.
Yes.
You know, the money that is utilized to help protect Ukraine from Russia. That is absolutely touched on. And there are a couple things. Now, this is super fucking sketchy because in the conversation, one of them, I believe it was Volker, the message, he was okay, so I think it's, what was it? Okay, Bill Taylor, it's conversations between Bill Taylor and Gordon Sondland, who is, I believe, an ambassador to the EU. Bill Taylor says, the message to the Ukrainians and Russians we send with the decision on security assistance is key. With the hold, we have already shaken their faith in us. Thus, my nightmare scenario. Counting on you to be right about this. Interview, Gordon. Gordon Sondland. Bill, I never said I was right. I said we're where we are and believe we have identified the best pathway forward. Let's hope it works. And Bill Taylor says, as I said on the phone, I think it's crazy to withhold security assistance for help with a political campaign.
Yeah, I have it right here.
And
we'll
Gordon,
throw that up there as well.
Yeah, Gordon Sondland says, Bill, I believe you are incorrect about President Trump's intentions. The president has been crystal clear, no quid pro quos of any kind. The president is trying to evaluate whether Ukraine is truly going to adopt the transparency and reforms that President Zelensky promised during his campaign. I suggest we stop the back and forth by text. If you still have any concerns, I recommend you give Lisa Kenna or S a call and discuss them directly. So basically saying, get the fuck off the off the text messages. We can't have this traceable. It's really fucking bad. Oh wow. Yep. And even before that, they're talking about the security assistance, but that was my favorite part. So Gordon Sondland is a smart guy. He knows not to leave a digital trail of his
not smart enough
messages.
Apparently.
What's
close?
I think it's very possible that Bill Taylor may actually have been, or at least one of these guys may have been involved in sending the whistleblower complaint, or helping with it.
That's a hot take right there.
That's my guess. Ooh. I don't know if it's absolutely true. I can't.
Come shut us down.
This is absolute. This is absolute like guesswork and not based on anything, but except for the fact that Bill Taylor seems a little bit reluctant about what the fuck is happening. So there's that. Man,
it's quite damning though.
I think it's impeachable.
And as we've seen, they've moved forward with that within Congress.
With the inquiry, but they have not brought forth articles of impeachment.
Sure, but I mean, I guess this is what they got out of the inquiry. The reason for the text message transcript coming out was the inquiry into it, and more information, as we said in the beginning, it's ever evolving. Yeah. It's being, information's coming out every day.
They've subpoenaed the hell out of White House officials. They're getting to the bottom of this. I am personally very, very excited about it.
And as we were discussing outside the podcast as well, our live stream, and we feel that both of us agree that they need to get on this right away. Like it needs
Absolutely.
And I mean, they seem to be following that track, because this
has to be handled before
the end of the
June
year.
1st.
Yeah.
June 1st. June 1st. Okay. But no, before the 1st of next year, this has to be handled. And the reason I'm excited about this is we're living in a historical moment.
Sure.
This is history being made. This will be the fourth impeachment of a president, if I'm correct.
Clinton,
Nixon.
Which Nixon he went through, but he resigned before it was.
Well, I think Clinton resigned as well, or before being convicted or whatever.
Well, the impeachment actually went through with Clinton. With Nixon, it didn't fully go through before Nixon just resigned and bailed out. Yes, of course it would have, but on a technicality there. And I believe there's two others, back in the time where nobody can think about, nobody can remember, their presidents, earlier than 1900.
Yeah. It was actually, I believe one of them was either Polk, Fillmore, or Pierce. I can't remember which one of them. But let's look this shit up. So, with all of that being said, while you are looking that up, it's
Andrew Johnson.
Okay.
It's at the aftermath of the Civil War. It's at the stage for first impeachment. He was vice president of Abraham Lincoln, so after his death, he was actually who took over, and he was also a racist who favored a lenient approach to Reconstruction. Okay.
Yep.
Why he was removed. When he was tried in the Senate, he ultimately held onto his presidency by a single vote after 7 Republicans decided to vote with Senate Democrats to keep him in office.
Wow.
Oh, that's why it wasn't.
That's why it wasn't. So it was not successful.
The process of bringing the state's confederacy back to the nation's clash with Congress throughout the term. Final straw came when he replaced the Secretary of War, Edwin Stanton, a Lincoln appointee who sided with radical Republicans, a faction of the party that favored French.
Yeah.
So I believe it was, I remember reading about that before. I believe it was because he had fired a secretary without the approval of Congress at the time, so he just went ahead through it.
That's of course, great.
Bill Clinton,
mm-hmm.
and
is that it?
It's the only two they have here.
That's weird.
Could have swore there was a third. Oh, only two: Clinton and Johnson.
Huh. Well,
and Nixon, of course, was almost impeached.
Yeah, Nixon.
But
Nixon. Well,
anyways,
with all of this being said, to anyone listening, just keep an open mind. If you are more on the conservative side and you do support our current president, keep an open mind about the ethical implications about this. Now, if you are a liberal, I would also say keep an open mind. It's still possible, even though it's extraordinarily implausible, that maybe there's some mitigating circumstances. I
would say to them, you don't want to. I mean, of course, there have been a lot of events that have come up within the past couple of years that the word impeachment gets tossed around, and you want to make sure you do your homework and make sure everything's fully flushed out before you just start liberally throwing the word out.
Yep.
At the first sign of
well, I've made my decision based on the texts. I think there's enough there.
Sure, but I mean, I would say you've done your homework.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Before anyone makes a decision, look at all of the documents that are there, including the whistleblower complaint, the actual transcript, and the text messages.
As most of the time we come to, make sure you do your own research in that case.
Absolutely. It's imperative. It really is. With that being said, I think that may bring us into whether or not different branches of government
our actual topic. 40 minutes in.
Yeah. So what do you think? Back to
where we left off.
Where we left
last
off.
Point. You had mentioned this. I'm wondering where you're going to go with this. But you had mentioned you had changed your mind. So let's start with that.
Yes. So basically, everything I said from the last time, part one of whether ethical standards should be the same in all areas of government, I said no at first, but now none of that matters because I'm saying yes. And here is my reasoning.
Okay.
So, there are different ways in which you can create an ethical code. You can say, you can make explicit statements. You shall not do this. Do not do that. And that is very. It's much more specific than the alternative, which actually basically states like all employees shall act in all things with integrity.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, if you were going to utilize an ethical code, what people call the high road approach of creating that ethical code, then you can make ethical standards for all areas of government, with a couple exceptions. Well, actually, one exception that I can currently think of, which is the intelligence community. And, well, their ethical standards have to be different. I like transparency in government. I like transparency in government a whole lot, but I don't want everyone to know the secrets that are meant to stay secret.
Sure.
We don't need to know the names of the operatives in other countries.
Well, yeah, that can be very dangerous for them.
Yes. So I'd say
names
that
are getting leaked while they're in a foreign power that isn't allied with the U.S.
Yes.
And that could
those standards
result in...
I absolutely believe are different. But
so kind of to break it down in a more simplistic way, how you could say something like, the age-old saying of, treat one, how you wish to be treated, how that can be interpreted. I'm not saying that's it. I'm saying how that can be interpreted in many different ways.
Yes.
Where it's this sort of general idea
Where
of
yes.
ethics instead of these direct, like, do not kill, do not
Yes.
steal.
Or even going even deeper, don't have relationships within this branch of government, like personal relationships, or especially with higher or lower ranking members of that branch, because that could create like nepotism and stuff like that. Instead, say
So instead of having something like that, you would instead have...
You could utilize a more generalized approach, basically saying act with integrity in all relationships in the office.
I get what you're saying.
Yes, rather, so that would... It's a little bit more open to interpretation, and the reason that is important is because it actually... there are too many circumstances that even a very specific ethical code, like if you're in a very specific ethical code, there will come certain circumstances where multiple ethical codes will like come into conflict.
A dilemma.
Yes, an ethical dilemma.
Yeah.
It's literally the definition of that.
Yep.
And within that case, you don't know which one to really go, like pick
Which
one or
one
the other.
precedes the other as far
Yes, you don't know which one.
It takes hierarchy.
Yeah. And there are also issues where upholding an ethical value may come in conflict with another ethical value that isn't explicitly written in the code of conduct, but is all the more valid. So it actually may be more important. So those issues could come up as well, where you could call it a personal ethical code, or it could be an oversight. The more specific you get, the more you're going to leave out, is what I'm trying to get at with the second statement. Now, the first thing is not able to be helped. Even if you generalize everything, you still come into the issue where one value will come into conflict with another, and you in both you'd have to stipulate the precedence of one value over another. You have to rank them and order them, or else you don't know exactly how to act in a certain situation. With the second one, though, it is much easier to make a generalized statement of act with integrity and act with honesty. And when those two come in conflict in some way, that's okay. You know which value is more important because you're, or hopefully because your agency has stipulated that. But if you
the action of like acting with integrity in a certain situation, if instead of being something specifically laid out, acting with integrity might be something which, if it was specifically laid out, you couldn't, one would run into conflict with the other. But acting with integrity in this situation actually means you might take another action, which you wouldn't be able to if it was specifically laid out, as far as don't do this, don't do that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Actually, furthermore, what I was going to expound by basically saying that in a more specific ethical code, you may have a circumstance where the ethical code states that you shall be honest about all processes that happen in the office. And since that is such a specific code, you may come into a circumstance where one of the other codes come into conflict with the value of honesty, but it is not explicitly stated, or it is not explicitly stated that way in that code. So let's say you're out of the office on an errand for work, and a situation happens where you have to where you may have to lie to an individual to help them. Do you lie? Well, it's not explicitly stated in the code of ethics that you're not allowed to lie out of the office explicitly. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I was kind of thinking of a similar example like that. I didn't want to say lie because it sounds bad, where it's like the I don't say like the honest thing to do might be to lie in this situation, but I get what you're saying as far as
So the fact that basically what I'm saying is that ethical codes cannot be too specific, and due to that fact, a generalized value-based ethical code can be standardized to all levels of government.
Do you think it would be standardized, and then you would take those and then tweak them subtly according to?
You may change the priority of those values between agencies, but the basic level of keeping those values are still there. So that is my argument for yes, there should be.
Play devil's advocate here. Maybe you have an answer to this, but far as, do you think that might lead to some people bending kind of the ethical codes or manipulating them into their favor more? Do you think that would be an issue?
More than the alternative? No. I personally think that, well, kind of like I said, the more specific you get, the more you're able to find loopholes and bend things a little bit.
Sure, but you could also argue that if it's vague enough, almost anything can fit within their strength. That's another argument that could be made.
Absolutely. That's true. That is actually where you have to kind of, first off, create or stipulate which values are more important than others, because that is an absolutely crucial framework, in my opinion. That actually allows you to make an argument when an ethical dilemma does come along, and you make a decision. You can go back to the ethical code if you are in a hearing or whatever, and basically state that I chose to act in this way, which coincides with this value, which takes precedence over the other value.
Like walking through your thought process.
Exactly. So it actually allows you to make that argument. But if you're really, if you're really sneaky or conniving, I guess you could argue pretty well anything you want to. I don't know how effective it would be. A lot of arguments require critical thought. So, if you're intelligent enough and able to find some loophole through logic, then you might be able to make a case for any or for a kind of murky ethical decision. So I'd say I don't think it would increase the likelihood of that happening, only because there are still oversight processes in which individuals who make kind of murky decisions they'd have to undergo in either circumstance.
And you don't think their justification would stand up to further scrutiny?
Yes, I don't think it would impair the judgment of the overseeing body.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Did I change your mind?
A
little bit.
I'll have to think about it. Yeah.
Okay.
What did we exactly come to? I know we were under the idea that it was sort of difficult to set a standard, and I guess we were working more on the idea of a different code for each.
Yes.
While having more of the specifics laid out.
So I was working under the impression that the prioritization itself would be a differentiation between standards among agencies. So
you would almost have a standard, but they would be prioritized differently.
Yes, and I maintain that, but
but the way the ethical code would be constructed is a lot different.
Yes, due to the fact that it's generalized, actually maintains the standard, and the only time in which they would be different is in when you are evaluating an individual for making a decision in which two values conflict with one another. That is the only time. That is the only exception, and I wouldn't really. I making the statement that ethical standards should be different based on just that seems like you're making a statement based on the exception rather than the rule. So that was my thought process regarding my change of mind. I may give it some thought more and
Part
change
3,
my
we'll come
mind
back
again. and scrap fucking everything. Yeah, actually, every couple weeks we'll come back to this and just change our mind.
Ever rotating topic. More. Part 26. Dylan changes minds for a 52nd time.
Yeah. Wow. That means I've changed. That means
one episode you changed your mind like 10 times.
Exactly.
I was just sitting there while you literally flip-flop 3 times in one sentence.
Wait, I don't know. Wait, do I? I'm not sure. So those are my. That's actually my thought process on that, and it actually ends up shortening the parts to this thing, because if I had said yes, there should be different standards, I would be saying which standards should be for which agencies. So I kind of fucked that up, but gotta stay true to myself.
Anything else you want to touch on? I'm actually curious. Do you think all of this has affected Biden's campaign any? Or do you think it has?
Okay, so I'm actually very interested in this. So I've heard a lot of individuals, a lot of political analysts actually saying that it would be good for Warren, and that supporters of Biden are actually may actually go somewhere else. I'm not too sure. I think there will be a dichotomy.
Repeat that.
Okay, so political analysts believe that it will hurt Biden, and that Warren will actually stand to gain. Mm-hmm. Just based on the fact that all of this murkiness around a potential scandal kind of harkens back to 2016, sure, where Biden is being propped up kind of like an effigy of Clinton. So I kind of disagree with that based on just one thing. I believe there will be a dichotomy between the voters. The voters that vote emotionally will not leave Biden.
Sure.
And
I can agree with that.
Actually, and I'm going to make a further statement, I believe it will firm up their support for Biden. The moment people who vote emotionally, like, I like this guy because he just speaks to me, they once they see the attacks and they look into it and find, oh, a lot of this is a little bit like, this isn't really a thing, and there's nothing here, and they will get angry and say, oh no, y'all are trying to get rid of Biden, I'm not going to let that happen. So it will firm up their support. It's
kind of how the idea of someone maybe taking a position on something where they're maybe in support of it, or sort of kind of uncertain, but then perhaps a lot of people then attack that position. In reaction to that, they may further entrench themselves in that position and defend it even more wholeheartedly. They get a full emotional connection to it, instead of just before, where they may have been a little more on the fence, a little less.
Exactly.
That because of all the attack against it,
that's precisely what
bolsters their defenses. Yeah.
Actually, you articulated that way better than I did.
So right now we got them at overall national poll average. Mm-hmm. They're within like 2 points.
Oh yeah, I absolutely believe that. Now I personally think a bit of that may be due to Bernie. I think Bernie's going to take a drop after the heart attack.
He's stayed consistent. He may take a bit of a drop.
I think he'll take a small
Harris
drop.
Continues the dip. I mean, she's been on a steady decline.
Buttigieg is above her now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's been on a pretty steady decline.
I'm happy with that. I don't like Harris. But I will be happy to see Warren take the front
Well,
of the pack.
Booker's taking a bit of a hit too. He's down from like almost 3 down to 1.7.
Really?
1.5, yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be rough. Yeah, I honestly think I mean, Buttigieg may have a
Castro
like,
Castro actually rebounded. He's up to 1.5, yeah, overall.
Oh, 1.5. Okay.
Well, he's past Klobuchar. Gabbard.
That's not very difficult.
Well, sure, but I mean, he was down below 1. I mean, he was down
That's fair.
like 0.8, I think.
Yeah, Yang is actually what, 6th, right?
He's jumped up above O'Rourke, Booker.
He's right behind Harris.
Yep. and if Harris keeps dipping, everyone's gonna overtake Harris.
Yeah.
He has really fallen from grace.
Well, she did basically say that like fuck the Constitution. Like, oh, instead of saying no we can't, why don't we just say yes we can? That was really
I do what
bad.
I want.
Yeah, that was horrible. You cannot do that.
It's very close in New Hampshire, of course, and was it Iowa? Actually, I wanted to select.
Mm-hmm.
Warren's overtaken Biden in Iowa.
Oh no, I absolutely believe
and
that.
Biden's took a huge spike in Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
He's down to 20.3, and Warren's up to 23.
Oh shit. Oh, now the what I was gonna say before is the other sect of voters, the ones who think strategically, will abandon Biden in an
sure.
instant.
Yeah.
Because I mean, strategy-wise,
get a 2016 Clinton repeat.
Yeah, no, and Elizabeth Warren, like, someone had mentioned this. I was listening to someone, I think it was in NPR.
Mm-hmm.
They stated that like Warren is uniquely qualified among the top 3 to go on to the general election and use the anti-corruption shit
mm-hmm.
as like a basis for her campaign, whereas Trump can muddy the water with Biden,
sure.
right? Because of that scandal. But no, Elizabeth Warren, she doesn't. The only scandal is the Pocahontas
thing, yeah.
And she's been pretty explicit and transparent about that.
Yeah.
So,
and that was even one that's, I mean, it's flimsy grounds
mm-hmm.
there. It's more like just a personal cheap shot, if
Absolutely.
anything.
So, and that's not. Yeah, and that isn't exactly corruption. It's
just someone making a stupid statement and then someone jumping down your throat because you screwed up in something you might have said or made a slightly insensitive comment.
Yes. So as far as that's concerned, Warren actually has the ability to truly kind of knock Trump's I'm gonna drain the swamp thing on its head and basically say, no, you are the swamp.
Yeah.
You are the swamp.
Swamp
thing.
was never drained there.
Yes. You have filled the swamp even more. And I have no scandal of corruption, so I will be much better. So strategically, she is much better positioned, I think. And hell, right now, I think I'd vote for her. She's, I mean, of my favorite candidates, she's like my number 3 most like she's my number 3 pick. But I mean, hell,
out of the most likely that are probably to take it.
Out of the most likely, I'd say Warren is my choice.
Sure, that's pretty agreeable.
Yeah.
All right.
What do you think?
We can, not like I said, it's pretty agreeable. I'm in the same boat there.
What does the most recent poll say, though?
As far as...
Oh, no. As far as Buttigieg's...
Buttigieg, I'm at 5 overall, 5.5.
Oh, nice. Okay. I'm happy with that.
Myers, 4th place, but kind of a distant 4th, but...
Yeah.
He's a leader of the bottom half, I guess you could say, if you split it into the top 3 and then the rest.
Yep. Yang might overtake him at some point.
Maybe. I think it
would make me sad.
I mean, he's doing a lot better in Iowa.
Buttigieg. Yang or Buttigieg? Buttigieg. I think he's at like 10%.
11.
11%.
He's almost overtaken Sanders. Klobuchar's doing really well in Iowa as well.
Really?
She's almost at 5.
Wow. No, I like Klobuchar quite a bit.
I think she speaks well to kind of the demographics in Iowa.
Mm-hmm. Klobuchar would be like my number 4. I think she's my number 4. Yeah.
What's Williamson? It's your number 5, right? That's your Joker card.
Well, I said
Ace in the hole.
I said Warren was 3. Williamson is 2. No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Knew it.
Damn. I actually forgot she was still running for a second. Actually, if you're not on the debate stage, then I'm sorry, you kind of don't exist to me anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is why Steyer is now my number 1. Oh, damn.
Making his way on there.
Mm-hmm. Fucking Steyer.
Anyways, and when is that coming up?
That's the 15th, and 15th? It is not going to be 2 days, unfortunately.
I told you.
That makes me very sad.
So it's next week.
There's going to be
next Tuesday.
There's going to be 12 candidates on a single fucking stage. I wonder how long this. It's got to be 3 hours.
3 hours again.
Like 3 at least. If you have it any less than 3 hours, then there's.
I mean, I can't see him extending it longer than it was last time, just because they added 2 candidates.
I mean, 3:25 would be good. Give me 3 hours, 25 minutes.
They're gonna
I'm cool
keep it
with
at
that.
3 hours. They're gonna keep it at 3 hours.
No, man, that's my drinking day.
Who's hosting? Who's hosting it?
CNN. Possibly.
Oh, okay. At least it's not MSNBC again. That was all the first one. Get what's that guy's name? Chuck Todd out there.
Oh yeah. He looks a little bit like a shark. Like a fish, some sort of fish.
I remember Chuck Todd way back in the day. I remember seeing him on C-SPAN. He was like a consultant they'd bring in every once in a while on like C-SPAN.
Oh, you told me this, yeah.
Like way back early 2000s when I was a kid.
That's pretty.
I've seen that. Kind of seen his growth within political media. Yeah.
Hell, I mean, I'd love to be part of a
just don't be a Chuck Todd
political commentary kind of thing.
I thought you were about to say I'd love to be Chuck Todd. It's like
no, I'm good.
No one wants to be Chuck Todd.
It's like Chuck Todd, Jake Tapper. Who are the other?
He had that outburst like he did. Remember he had that? Did you see that video?
No.
You didn't see that video of him?
Mm-mm.
Jake Tapper. He had that outburst at some guy at a bar.
Really?
And he started cussing him out.
Well, did he deserve it?
He supposedly. I'm questioning if it was even him.
It was just some guy who looked like Chuck Todd.
No, it was a.
Mm-hmm.
It was a
Chuck Todd lookalike cusses out guy at bar.
Name of some other.
I can't think of anyone at the moment. Damn.
Anyways, I got mistaken there, but
yeah. But either way, like that would be quite interesting. Is that Media Bias?
Oh yeah, I was looking up.
I love Media Bias.
I was looking up a site. Did you vote on these?
No, I didn't. Did you?
You can no. I was looking up a site and see which was the bias on it, but I saw these on here where you can agree if it's.
Oh yeah, we should tell people about this. Anyone who's watching, go to mediabias.com. They actually show you the level of factual reporting as well as the political bias that each media organization has, and it also extends to certain think tanks as well. So it's a really useful tool, and I personally I use it all the time when I encounter a new media organization. That's the first thing I do is look up their political affiliation.
I love looking into it as well when you're reading through something and you start noticing certain words used or certain slants, and you're like, this makes me a little suspicious here. I wonder
exactly. You get that keyword.
You can kind of tell. You get a hunch of where it's going, and you're like, just to confirm your suspicion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sometimes they show their hand a bit too much.
just a fucking little, man. Yeah. Actually, speaking of, Fox actually, their podcast, the Fox News Rundown, actually did a segment on how awful the new Joker movie was, because it
is this the out?
It showed the Joker in a positive light. They said, I'm like, yeah, sure. And they associated that with like the mental health, with the gun debate and shit like that, trying to obfuscate things. So I thought it was pretty interesting.
We won't get into that because I have some opinions there, but
regarding the Joker.
Yeah, but we won't go into that.
All right, maybe a different time.
Maybe a different time. All right. You got anything else you want to say?
No, other than I love our audience, man.
Here. Yeah, it's one person. I think that might just be us up here.
Hey, it's fine. It's fine.
That's fine.
All right.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
Any ideas or hints for next week's topic?
For next week's topic, I think
a red herring, maybe.
A red herring, possibly. Well, I do want to say that we may actually get in. I want to keep it open at least until Wednesday, just in case more shit about the impeachment comes in play, because that might take up all of our time again. So there's that.
Well, at least a good chunk, and then we'll like agree on something at the end. Close. Like, yeah, sounds good to me. All right.
Things we agree on. It's perfect. All right. I'm Dylan.
I'm Jeremy.
See you next week.
Thanks for watching.